Well, that was largely unexpected. Greetings and welcome once again to Roman of the Empire. I am your host, Roman. Today we are talking about The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 7, The Spies, which is kind of a stupid name, but that's all right. That one, it's that much applicability. This episode I'm going to call the best of the bad. This is the opposite of last week's episode. There were a lot of good elements in this episode, and had they actually been handled, had the rest of the season been handled better, this episode would have done, it would have played out a lot more. You would have cared, I guess is the nice way to say it. You would have cared about the events that happen in this episode more. There were a lot of, like I said, a lot of good elements in this episode. It looked fantastic. There are a lot of good Star Wars points here, though Din Djarin is basically moved out of the Mandalorian role. He's there, yes, he's still Mando, but he's such a minor part of the show that he might as well just be, he's supporting cast, is what he is. And there were some dumb moves in this episode because there always seem to be dumb moves, especially like in the tactical department. I don't know why they continue to do that, but they do. This would have been a good cliffhanger, but they're going to squeeze one more in. So they could take the good that they got with this episode and completely ruin it with the next episode. That's entirely possible. And a lot of people aren't going to like this episode anyway, just because the rest of the season has been so bad. And it has. So I can't forgive the rest of the season for what was largely, like I said, a good episode. I guess they're just things that are kind of wonky. And we'll talk about those right now. Why not? Let's dive into this. Like I said, so last week's episode was just a complete shit show. It was terrible. There was no good element that happened in that episode. At the end of it, Bocaton retakes the fleet from Axe Wolves, who had taken command. All right, fine. So now they are heading back to... Oh, I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself already. I forget things because I'm ancient. We started off on Coruscant. We know it's Coruscant because we've seen Coruscant a lot. And this is the second time they've used, in the last episode they did it poorly, but kind of a Blade Runner-esque look. We have the Elia Kane, former comms officer on Moff Gideon's ship. Remember, she's a Alliance person now, but she's a spy. We know that. That's where the spy comes in, I guess. And she meets up with an Imperial scout droid, of all things, in downtown Coruscant. You would think there'd be something to monitor this, but clearly not. Like I said, the scene looks good, but this is one of those things that seems improbable at best. That she gets a communique from who? Oh my goodness, it's Moff Gideon. Shocking. And she relays the incidents that happened on Navarro, that the Mandalorian clans are starting to reunite, and this is what brought down the pirates, because he was using the pirates. Ruh-roh. So now he's like, we need to take care of the Mandalorian problem. And I like this scene quite a bit, honestly. And I know it's shocking, I say. So he gets off with her, and he's marching through what seems to be a fairly impractical security hallway into a meeting with the Shadow Council. And this is cool. This is all ex-Imperial. Well, they're not. I can't call them ex-Imperials, but they're really not. They're still Imperials, but they're acting as warlords in different areas, trying to amass resources for the comeback. And we meet from the sequel trilogy, which I despise. Hux's father is part of this, which timeline-wise makes sense. Although now they're starting to slowly weave the first order into the stuff. And, we know that Rey is coming back and all of these things. So they're not letting that go, and that does suck. There are a lot of things I would have found far more interesting than that. But they talk about, so he's trying to get more resources. He needs TIE interceptors, TIE bombers, and he wants 3 Praetorian Guard. Okay, we have no idea where he's operating from. And so, this is, they talk about the return of Thrawn, Grand Admiral Thrawn. So that's hanging in the air. We know that's coming probably in Ahsoka. So there you are. So now on Navarro, what the hell is the guy's name? Lord, I've forgotten his name already. Mando's buddy on the planet. This is terrible. Karga. I'm sorry. That's the problem with these characters. I don't give a shit enough about them to remember most of their names. So Karga's doing, up in his little balcony area, and his droid freaks out because there is a fleet coming in, and they appear to be Imperial ships. But they're not. They are, of course, the Mandalorian Fleet. So they land, and now the Death Watch, which is Mando's clan, and the Night Owls, which are Bocaton's group, and they're kind of a scattered Mandalorian mercenary army at this point, are meeting up for a time, and they don't prefer each other's company. But they hold a feast. Bocaton has a speech. They all need to go back to Mandalore to find the great forge and see what they can do about the planet. Okay, well, that's interesting. The planet's crystallized, so I don't know what they're going to do for assets. But anyway, so that's for volunteers, which is a little bit weird, and then a bunch of people volunteer. So they fly off to the planet, which is fine. Oh no, God, I'm sorry, I completely forgot about one of the worst elements of the show. Whilst on Navarro, before they depart, Karga gifts Mando with IG-12. IG-12 is IG-11's body, which should have been atomized, but that's neither here nor there, that has a little pilot station in it now. Oh, who is that designed for? That little green football Grogu, who is amazingly more annoying in this episode than he has been in the past. I liked it better when they weren't using him at all. And now that they're using him in the IG-12, because he has two buttons he can press, yes or no, and then move the thing around. And it's like an infant. It's so horrible. If you've ever had a toddler and they're having a fit where they're screaming, no, 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 imagine a droid doing that. There you go. That's what he's given him. He's gifted him a toddler that has fits. It's stupid. It's bad. It's so terrible. And it's useless. It also proves to be a useless plot point. Other than having this stupid little green fella have something to do, that's fantastic. So now they take off and they're God. So they get to Mandalore. And as the whole fleet goes, which is, I thought it was just going to be a party, but it's the entire Mandalorian fleet goes to Mandalore again. And Bocaton and her ship head down through the atmosphere. She's doing a little exposition here. They're not going to have comms because of the magnetic interference in the atmosphere between the fleet and her team once they are below a certain level in the atmosphere. Okay. This part looked neat but was pointless. For some reason, they do the Mando drop before the landing zone to make sure the area is clear, and then Bocaton lands. Remember a couple episodes back where Bocaton was just there by herself and landed the ship? Again, this is things that look cool but don't really serve a lot of point. So her and the team park the ship, and in classic Mandalorian fashion, then they walk a long distance, what seems to be a long distance. Why aren't you parking your ship closer to your freaking target area? There's nothing on Mandalore, you know that. All you're looking at is, weird animal species and little creepy things, but at least as far as you know. But so now they do the Mando march, and as they're doing this, they see something coming on the horizon. Oh my God, it's refugees, survivor Mandalorians, that's a better way to put it, who have been there since the Purge. They recognize Bocaton, and they're like, yeah, hey, Bo, you're back. We knew you wouldn't abandon us. And how have these guys been surviving? On what food? What are they eating? Each other? It's weird. It's like, okay, it's kind of neat, but it's terrible at the same time. So they've got this almost like a pirate ship that they're maneuvering over the glassy surface of Mandalore. And they're like, well, yeah, we're trying to get to the forge, and he's like, oh, we can get you there because they know where it is. So they're on the trip. Paz Vesla and Axe Wolves have a little spat over some. They're playing like a game of chess or something similar. They disagree. The knife fight breaks out, and then Robot Grogu Cyborg Idiot breaks up. No, 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 no. It's terrible. Mando tells Bo that he's with her. Her story hasn't been sung yet, and he will be with her until it is. Bo relays to all the Mandalorians that she did, in fact, surrender to Moff Gideon to try to save the planet after the bombs started and most of their forces were wiped out. But then he betrayed her into the Purge anyway. Okay, fine. For some reason, a random CGI monster bursts out of the crystals. It's like something out of Godzilla, King of All Monsters. It's stupid and it doesn't serve a purpose other than to spend budget, which they could have spent earlier in the season on anything else. So this thing happens, they wreck the ship, and then they go into the caves to hide. Well, while they're wandering through the caves, they just keep going deeper, and now they end up at what's left of the Great Forge. And they're walking around down here. This is where this used to be the heart of our civilization, and now it's in ruins, of course. Then they hear jetpacks coming. What the F? Well, this is a new Imperial style force. They are wearing the Beskar armor. Ruh-roh. So they're wearing Beskar armor. They're fighting the Mandalorians. And where did this team come from? That's odd. So the team, they get into a pretty decent fight. It's a good firefight, fun to watch. And they seem to be doing a retreat. Okay, so they're following them. But as they're following them, you realize they are in what is clearly Imperial tunnels now. And they pop out in this area that has TIE fighters, TIE interceptors, a whole, it looks like a garrison. And they're like, well, what is this place? Well, that's a fantastic question, you fucking wizard. And then two blast doors close in part of the team. The other team is out on kind of a landing platform, finding what's left of these. Who's out there is Paz and Din Djarin and some other Mandalorians are the ones trapped outside. Bocaton and the rest of the Mandalorians are trapped inside between the two blast doors. And they're getting their asses handed to them. They're simply outnumbered. I'm sorry. Paz is not outside. He is inside with Bo, but it's Din Djarin and a team of Mandos out there who get their ass kicked. They take everyone down, but Din Djarin, he's doing flame stuff and everything, and then they finally subdue him because he's simply outnumbered. And then who arrives? It's Moff Gideon wearing his own Beskar armor, looking like it's in Mandalorian style. It's cool looking. I can't say it's not cool looking because it is. And then he does the monologue, the evil monologue. Ha ha ha. The best thing is that they're all me. So he's taken the best of the Jedi, the cloners, the Mandalorians, using all these resources because he's using the Beskar on Mandalore to create this armor, to create this new faction. And then he orders. He's like, why don't we destroy the Mandalorian fleet while we have the element of surprise? Remember, no comms. So they're launching out of there. Bo-Katan's freaking out. They take Din Djarin away. Moff Gideon tells Bo to give him the Darksaber back. She declines. Cuts a hole in the back blast door so they can get out. But Paz Vesla stays there. He's like, there's too many of them. Go. And so Moff Gideon opens the blast doors now, and they're just firing away. And Paz Vesla is the only one left. And it's a sacrifice scene, but it's kind of seemingly pointless because they just cut the thing open earlier. They all could have gotten out of there before they got in. I mean, he did take a lot of them down, no question about it. But certainly there are more, right? And then as he's out there, the Praetorian Guard show up. That Moff Gideon ordered earlier. And this, like I said, it's the sacrificing. And then they cut him to bits. And that's the end of the episode. You're left wondering, what the hell happens? Is the fleet going to get destroyed? Don't know. You know, you don't know how this whole thing plays out. You know, in season 4, I imagine that there's going to be one, or it's just going to shift into something else. Because remember, I mean, the Mandalorians are not, as far as we know, in the sequel trilogy. So what happened to them? Something probably bad. Or they're just living their best lives on a planet that has long beaches and flying lizards that eat their children. No one knows. But this was the best of the bad. I'm going to give it that. It had elements that, like I said, were fun to watch. Ultimately, where does it go? It's really hard to say. It's also no longer Din Djarin's show, and Grogu has become the most useless element on this show. We got one more left. Like I said, this would have been a good cliffhanger. We'll see what happens if I don't have to see Ellie Kane or Elia Kane, whatever her stupid spy name is. I'd rather not see her again. I'd rather not see Grogu again. I'd rather not see a lot of these characters again. But we are where we are. It'd be nice if they could do a Clone Wars style thing in this. I know Dave Filoni likes that. Dave Filoni is kind of he's not awesome at this point. He's lost the awesomeness, but who knows what they will bring to us? What new, fresh horrors? Where they could have done something cool, they've not. But there we are. There we are. One more week. Anyway, so this has been Roman of the Empire signing off. Please like and subscribe and leave your comments. Leave your comments because I do want to hear what you guys are saying about this. I know there's a few of us reviewers out there who are taking this thing to heart, and a lot of you are just watching it through us. And I'm grateful for that, and I'm happy you don't have to endure the bad elements of this stuff. So take care and be kind.